Keep it high, keep it tight. I'm Jay Morris, Review Guy, back to bring you another album review. Today we're going to be talking about an album that I am very, very excited to talk about, and I know that there are a lot of other people that are excited to review this, to listen to it, and to consume it, because I saw this on a lot of different metal and rock magazines and websites putting this at their most anticipated rock and metal releases, and as someone that prides themselves on being up to date with the times when it comes to rock and metal, I know that a lot of people were very, very excited for this release when it got announced. So today we're, of course, talking about Ember by Breaking Benjamin. Now, this is an album that it had a lot riding on its shoulders before a single note was played, before a single song was released, before any news was known about it at all, because they were coming off of the hype that was Dark Before Dawn, which was their previous album, their fifth album, and that was released in 2015 after a long hiatus that caused a lot of legal issues with Benjamin Burnley and the rest of the band, causing all of the original members besides Benjamin himself to be kicked out of the band, and causing a whole new roster to be formed and a new album to be made back in 2015. This was a critical success, both by reception from critics as well as average listeners, and it did amazing on the Billboard 200. It debuted at #1 and sold over 140,000 copies in the first week of its conception in the US alone when it released. It did amazing. It got great reviews. So there was a big question on how was Ember going to ride on the hype train that was Dark Before Dawn and come out on top and make an album that's not only listenable, but builds upon what Dark Before Dawn was able to do. Now, I'm going to be honest. I swear by Dark Before Dawn as being their best album. I've listened to all their albums, but I personally, this being one of my favorite bands, I like all of their material, but Dark Before Dawn to me was a very complete album, a very mature album, and as someone that really prides himself on being big on atmosphere and being big on lyrical content and dissecting and analyzing, I thought that Dark Before Dawn was their most complete album, and it's one that I still find myself going back to listen to regularly, even though it has been since 2015 when the album was originally released. So Ember, 2018, April 13th, we have it. What is the general consensus? Well, this is not going to be a 5-minute review. You will notice that I did not start this with a 5-minute review because this is an album that's much bigger than that to me, and I personally want to talk about it a little more over 5 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we'll see how it plays out. So when Red Cold River got released as the single from the main single of of Ember. Don't know why I said Dark Before Dawn. Ember. It's probably because Dark Before Dawn's sitting in front of me. When Red Cold River got released as the lead single from Ember, it, to me, actually, surprisingly, was very underwhelming. And I was a bit iffy on the overall feel because I was curious to know if this was going to be a sound that they really went with. Now, Breaking Benjamin is known for being consistent. If they're nothing else, then they're consistent, and they're constantly praised for having a not wanting to reinvent the wheel type of attitude. In fact, that's something paraphrased that Breaking Benjamin's lead vocalist, Benjamin Burnley, stated himself, is that he did not want to reinvent the wheel. And personally, I feel like their style is, across all albums, is very consistent, even if they occasionally will go to a different type of style. They will maintain that kind of hard rock, post-grunge type of sound, and I emphasize the post-grunge on this. This definitely sounds like a post-grunge album, and it has a lot of stylistic differences, surprisingly. It's a strange album because it stays to their original side and their original style, but at the same time, it causes a new atmosphere that kind of surrounds the album and causes a new sound to flourish from that and mix with the two to create a sound that is a cross between the melodic aspects of Dark Before Dawn, which is by far their most melodic album, with songs like Hollow, Angels Fall, Ashes of Eden. You had some failure. Benjamin employed a lot of different vocal styles and a lot of different sounds with that album that come back with Ember, but with a more heavy type of repertoire under their belt. And it was known that the fan base was wanting more heaviness that was more akin to the original style that Breaking Benjamin used to play on some of their first albums. and they were happy to oblige, according to what I've read in an interview. And Ember, to me, there's a lot of very, very consistent good aspects of this album. Now, Sean and Aaron both do singing on this album, and well, I should say they do some backup vocals. And at shows, I know that one of the two, I forget, I saw a live show where one of them actually did the main vocals on a song, and it was very, very good. They're great singers. And Benjamin actually said in an interview that he was curious he wanted to use them because it felt like wasted talent, and they're definitely not wasted on this album. The guitarists, it's strange how they're able to use the three guitarists to their advantage and make it very advantageous for the band as a whole and create a song and a style and an album that really builds upon the strong suits of each individual player while still maintaining that original core style and that sound that Breaking Benjamin has become known for. So I really respect that they're able to do that, despite the fact that not only has their whole lineup changed, but they have three guitarists, and they really use that to their advantage. And the drum work on this album has definitely stepped up big time. I feel like drum-wise, this is probably the best Breaking Benjamin album for anyone that is very interested in drumming with percussion. You're definitely going to enjoy this album because the drum work on this album is fantastic. So, without having to go into every track, I want to first mention something about the beginning and end track. They are two instrumentals, and they are called, the first being Lyra and the second being Vega. And if you are into astronomy at all or science, you will know that Lyra is a constellation and Vega is the brightest star within Lyra. So it really sums up the album's feel, and I really enjoy metaphors, and I enjoy when artists, whether it be from music, whether it be from writing or painting, I really enjoy when artists do that type of doublespeak, because as a writer, I can appreciate that when it tells a story that can be analyzed on a deeper, dissected level. And I feel like this album as a whole, it's only 38 minutes. It's 38 minutes and 45 seconds, which is not too long, but not too short. It definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. It's an extremely fun album from start to finish, but it is... Breaking Benjamin is known for having kind of darker themes, but Ember really explores that and almost exploits it to their advantage to have a very dark, sinister type of feel where all the songs have a sense of hopelessness, but really come back with a vengeance of light. And the lyrics definitely shows confliction, and it shows the battle between good and evil and light and dark, and how somebody can go to one side and then end up at the other and be confused about where their place is and come out of that alive and kicking and know where you belong. And there is a lot of pain and sorrow and agony and confliction in these lyrics that you can definitely read into, and they can be relatable for everyone because everyone's been in dark places, everyone has been in good places, and we all know what it feels like to be stuck in the middle ground, the gray area, and have to find ourselves again, discover ourselves again after a certain event has maybe struck us hard, or something has shook us to the point to where we really have to question a lot of things and take the wheel again and find out about ourselves, what we're made of, and find out that we're maybe not the monster we think we are or what other people have made us think we are. And the lyricism definitely reflects that theme of dark versus light, good versus evil, and I really enjoy how Breaking Benjamin does that, because that was something that they did on Dark Before Dawn that I personally really enjoyed, is the feeling of that type of theme that ran through the whole album and ran rampant and really went with that idea and pushed it to another level that really, I think, did a good job. Now, my favorite songs on this album, I really, really enjoy the two final songs leading up to the last instrumental track, which would be Save Yourself and Close Your Eyes. Close Your Eyes, Breaking Benjamin has this thing about them where Benjamin and some of the other members, and sometimes Benjamin himself, will have a melody, will harmonize with each other, and it will sometimes make it sound auto-tuned even when it's not, because if you watch live performances, they sound great. They put on a great show from the videos that I've seen, and would love to see them someday. But Breaking Benjamin definitely has a habit of having that type of sound, whereas Close Your Eyes as an ender, as the final song, as a finale, I think it does its job very well. And not only that, but I feel like Benjamin's voice sounds so raw and uncut on that song, and I absolutely love that. I hope they do more songs like that in the future, because it definitely showcases a lot of creativity and a lot of artistry that really showcases Benjamin's ability to vocalize with raw talent. And he has one of the best voices in modern rock and metal. He has such a range, and that's something that I wanted to mention on this album is he uses falsetto quite a bit in this album. And I have to say, it is so. Those are my favorite parts of the album by far. Is when, because a lot of times he will mix in his rough vocals or his kind of scream vocals or normally sung vocals, and he'll go back and forth between falsetto and sometimes one line, one sentence, one bar. And on a song like "Save Yourself," this is going to be a really bad imitation because I don't sing, but the part where he goes, my dying breath, and he screams out the breath part, the way he's able to transition from normally sung where he's like, my dying, and then he goes high with breath, and then I keep this, breath is kind of the screamed part. The way he's able to transition from this sung part to falsetto to this scream part, all in the span of about 5 seconds, is probably the most impressive part of this entire album, is that line. That's impressive, and I really like the falsetto. Dark of You is a very, very impressive track, and I feel like that builds a lot of great atmosphere. And the lyrics on this album, I tell you, read the lyrics with these or just listen, because they're not hard to understand like some metal. The Dark of You has such a great atmosphere built around it and such a great chorus. And all of these songs have great choruses, but Breaking Benjamin's known for that. So we definitely have a contender on our hands for a potential album of the year or close to it. But it's so early in the year, and there's been so many releases. I've just on this channel alone, there's a ton of new albums that I need to review, including the Fan Appreciation Week albums. But when you have releases like Augury's album, what was that called? The Elusive Golden Age, Barren Earth's A Complex of Cages, Mournful Congregations, The Incubus of Karma. There have been so many amazing releases this year so far, and I haven't even gotten to half of what's been released so far. And it's a daunting task, and I'm excited for the albums of the year. When I make that list, I might make a kind of half-year list, probably, but we'll see. And Ember is, spoiler alert, it would take a lot of amazing albums for Ember to not be on the list. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys think. I'm Jay Morse, Review Guy. I'll do shoutouts as usual. Like, comment, subscribe. You'll be in the description below. I'll talk to you guys next time. Check this album out. This is an amazing album. I give this album a perfect 10 out of 10 for just everything that I've mentioned more. There's no way I can talk about every song on this track. This album is just, every song on this album, I should say, because it's just so amazing all the way through. It's a great listen. It's not that long. It has a beautiful, beautiful cover, and I would highly suggest you consume this. You support the artist, whether it's through iTunes, whether it's through a physical copy, a cassette, a vinyl. If you go see them at tour, if you buy merchandise, support this band, because Benjamin does struggle with illnesses, physical illnesses, not mental illnesses. Let me just put this into perspective for you. I'm sorry I'm keeping the video going. I just wanted to say something that I read. He performed a hour-and-a-half long gig with a lung infection. He has battled illness his whole life, and yet he still does these concerts. He doesn't have to. They sell enough on their own, but he still wants to do that because he really does care about fans. And if you have ever seen him, he is one humble guy in interviews. He is a very, very nice man from the looks of it and from the sounds of it. That could be some bravado he puts on, but I personally believe that that is actually how he is, because it's too recurring, and he seems like such a nice guy, and the lyrics really reflect that. And I personally have a lot of respect for him, so not with just this band, but with any band you like. Support them. Don't bootleg songs, because I know this album leaked a couple days before, and there were people doing reviews of it. There were people illegally downloading it, and it's wrong. It's not right. No matter how you buy it or how you support it, or even if you just watch it on YouTube, because I'm sure someone's uploaded it by now. Support the artists that you care about, because it's very important to keep great music alive. Music is something that means a lot to me, and it's why I've built this channel around this topic, because even if I don't end up growing to be huge, that's not what my goal is here. It's to talk about things that I personally enjoy, and music is something that I am passionate about. And if you guys can't tell by these reviews, this is something that I really take seriously, I really care about. Yeah, I might have a funny hat on sometimes, but when it comes to music, I really, really try to know what I'm talking about. I try to do my research, and I really take in each album that I listen to, good and bad, and I try to understand it, and I try to enjoy it, and give you guys a bit of my passion, and explain things to you guys. So I'll talk to you guys next time. This has been Jay Morse of you guys, signing off, saying farewell.